Thanks,
Yeah.
Anita. It was
That
a
was
bit of a
awesome.
rabbit out of the hat.
That was great.
You watched it?
I didn't, but I read the report.
I decided to slide in there before the staff report came up. Well, yeah, I decided to suggest to the chair to advance the report to after the delegation. And then I jumped right in with the proposed motion before they could get into the report, and I'd have to be fighting an amendment. So
Right. Now that was amazing.
Were there 3 members away? I quickly glanced at the recorded vote, but were there members were missing? Just 2?
2 members missing.
And
did
Mayor
anybody
Allen,
refrain? Sorry, go ahead.
it is 6:30, so you may start the meeting when you're ready.
Thank you. Can I have a mover and seconder to call the meeting to order, please? Council Moore, Deputy Mayor Coughlin, that the regular meeting of the Council Township of Springwater of June 2nd, 2021 come to order at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? That is carried. Due to COVID-19, Council is taking the necessary steps to limit in-person meetings. As such, members of Council and staff are participating in the meeting electronically. You can watch the meeting on the Township's website, www.springwater.ca. You can listen to it during the meeting on a telephone by dialing 647-558-0588 and using the meeting code 890-6001-8666 and the pound sign. This option is available during the meeting, or if you want to watch the live stream after the meeting, you can go on the Township YouTube channel to see that. Council, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest this evening? Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you, Marilyn, and through you, I guess this is more of a I'm not sure opportunity. I have on 8.1.4 this evening, I will be asking for deferral as I have yet to receive confirmation from an integrity commissioner as to an opinion on either perceived or pecuniary interest. So I will be asking for a deferral in light of that.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you. All right, I'm not seeing any others. Oh, Councillor Cabral.
Yes, Mayor Allen, I just want to indicate that I was looking at that particular item and also was going to ask for a deferral, but for a specific reason.
Okay, we'll come to that when we get to that. Thank you. All right, item 3 on the agenda, we have deputation presentations, and we have one from Ms. Jody Player Delgado, providing us the Springwater Township Public Library presentation update. Welcome, Jody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of Council. It's good to be here again tonight. For those watching virtually, I'm Jody Player Delgado, and I'm the CEO of Springwater Township Public Library. And I will be giving a brief overview of some of our library happenings in the past few months. Just give me a moment to actually get this up. Okay, so everybody should be able to see my screen at the moment. Now, the last time I was here, other than budget, to really speak to you was way back in February 2020, if we can all remember that far back. It seems like forever now, when we were talking about our master plan, which was the first ever master plan the library had done. And it was going to be the basis of a strategic plan for the next few years. With COVID, we decided to, instead of doing a large full-scale master plan, we were going to reprioritize some of the master plan's recommendations for what we call a short-term or a bridge strategic plan. And this is basically to help us get through COVID and reposition ourselves to be library leaders post-COVID. So concentrating primarily on what we need for our digital platform and what we need to better position the library in the next year. And then in 2022, we will start working again on our full long-range strategic plan. Another goal that we had pre-pandemic that has actually come to fruition is a reciprocal agreement with Tiny. Tiny Township does not have an actual library for its residents. Instead, it contracts with Penetanguishene, Midland, and Springwater libraries. We decided that it's better for all of Tiny residents, plus the libraries, to have a reciprocal agreement so Tiny residents can access all 3 libraries instead of just the one. This was presented to Tiny Council in November 2020 and was approved early in 2021. And it also means that all member libraries retain the same level of funding. So it makes it easier for us to budget each year because we know exactly how much funding we're getting from Tiny. Springwater Township also currently has reciprocal agreements with ESSA and Clearview libraries. And hopefully post-pandemic, we will be able to extend that with other libraries here in Simcoe County. One of the things we realized during our closures due to the pandemic is that we need more digital resources. Luckily, we were able to add Canopy to our online resources this spring. Canopy is a streaming service which offers movies, break courses, and children's programming. So library members can download 4 movies per month, 1 month worth of unlimited children's programming from the platform, and 1 great course per month. Also, through the Simcoe County Library Cooperative, we were able to receive Press Reader, which offers newspapers and magazines from around the globe. So that is really exciting to be able to offer those to our residents. Another thing we've been able to offer to our residents is collection kits. They can't come to us in the library at the moment, so we decided to bring greater resources to them that they can use in their own homes. So for example, we've been able to add snowshoes, a sewing machine, kits for curriculum with early literacy, bird watching, fidget toys, chess. We have lots of different kits. And so families are able to check these out and take them home and work with them and then bring them back. The money for this came from our online fundraiser that we did in November when we switched our ladies' night out from April to our online fundraiser, and we made over $8,000. Now, as you know, we were forced to close right before New Year's. So we went to curbside at all 3 branches, and we've been doing curbside service ever since. With the new framework, we are hoping to be able to open to the public sometime in July under the step 2 of the provincial roadmap. And of course, that will be within predetermined limits. So we have to have only a certain amount of people in the building and limiting computer appointments. People won't be able to come in and stay and do their work, unfortunately, until we're able to fully open. And our programs will still be remaining virtual for the time being. But in just the past 4 months, we've had 15,584 circulation of items with over 3,500 curbside appointments. 387 story time kits have gone out. So these are pre-done craft kits that families can pick up and then do the craft in connection while watching our story time videos. So we have that interactive component to it. And our new app that came out last year has had 2,618 uses so far. So we are still very active in the community and providing services. Our programming, as mentioned, has gone online. We've done a variety of video programs that can be accessed through YouTube, Facebook, and our webpage. We've also done some real-time Zoom programs. Our Storm Chasers program for April break was quite popular. We've done the kits, the activity bags, and our video how-to, especially the one on how to download, use our ebooks on a Kobo reader, has been a very popular one. So far, we've had over 5,000 video views to date this year. And it's summertime. It's supposed to feel like summertime this weekend anyways, which will get everybody in the mood to sign up for our summer reading program starting next week. We are going to be using the Read Squared app again. We started it out for the first time last year, and it proved to be really helpful. Families can log their children's reading, and then we can track it on our end for statistics, and then we send out prizes either through mail or through curbside when children reach certain levels of reading. We also have video programs, and MPP Downey is coming back again this summer as our special guest reader. We're lucky enough to get this Canada Summer Student Grant. So she started last week and has lots of great ideas for programs planned. We're hoping to maybe do some outdoor reading programs end of August if regulations permit. But one outdoor program we're doing is a story walk. And that is where families can go walk on a trail and read a story at the same time. So it's a perfect activity for COVID. And we're going to be bringing this to some couple different trails throughout Springwater Township this summer. And for the first time, we're running a kids author program where kids can write and illustrate their own story. And then we're going to take some of those stories and animate them for a video and use them for our fall story times. So children will be their own authors. So that's going to be really exciting. I am happy to announce that we were the recipients of the Ontario Children Foundation Seed Grant. We actually received this in 2020, but it was put on hold due to COVID. And so we were able to successfully revamp our offerings and put everything online using the Zoom format. So we're offering a how to Zoom tutorial one-on-one for those who would like to learn a little bit more about how to use it. And then we're going to be having guest artists come in, doing some art programs, and even some virtual field trips throughout the summer for creative seniors. All materials are being funded by the OTF Foundation through this grant, so it will be at no cost for all of the seniors in our area. And we were very lucky to also be able to give back to the community with our Springwater Smile program this year. And this was a brainchild of staff member Kathy, who wanted to give back and help out mothers especially who had a really hard time throughout the last year with the pandemic. So we partnered with the Elmville District Food Bank to provide smile bags for mothers that included toiletries, food, treats, and a gift card. And families, people, businesses throughout the township sponsored a bag, and then the food bank was able to deliver it to their clients. The Elmville Lions Club, when they heard about it, they contacted us and they were able to purchase 25 bags. So they've provided half of our total of 50 bags for the food bank. So we are very happy to help out with the community in this way and provide a focal point for them. And we're hoping to do something similar again next year. Did you know that up to 20% of the population has dyslexia? That means up to 20% of our residents may have trouble accessing library materials. So we have been working on providing dyslexia awareness training for our staff so they can better help families when they come in looking for ways to help their children learn to read. And we are also partnering with the International Dyslexia Association Ontario branch to provide training for the Ontario Library Service. So I am involved in providing a training program, a webinar next week for OLS. So, and also a list of resources that different libraries across the province can use to help better make their libraries dyslexia friendly so we can actually reach every single resident instead of missing the 20% who may have literacy issues. And so that was a very brief recap of what we've been doing for the last few months, but moving forward, we are happy to kick off the Elmville Sci-Fi Fantasy Masquerade with our Crafting with Kathy program. She is promoting masks, and that'll be leading off their mask making contest for children. So that her program is coming up this week. So if you have any children, have them watch it, create a mask. They can get some limited number of free masks from the library and enter the Elmville Sci-Fi Fantasy contest. Also, Georgian Bay Reads is back. We skipped last year due to the pandemic. It will be virtual this year in October during Ontario Public Library Week. We've already launched it with announcing all of the defenders and the titles on our Facebook page last week. Donna Kenwell is our defender, and she will be promoting the title by Emma Donahue, The Pull of the Stars. So hopefully we retain our People's Choice Award crown, which we have won for the past 2 events. So be sure to come look at all the books. You can check them out from the library and then support Donna and Springwater Library in October for GBR. We also launched our library app last year. And this year we are going to be able to move forward with adding self-checkout to the app. So once we get permission to open up to patrons in July, we will be implementing that sometime this fall. So people can come in and use the library app to actually do self-checkout, which we're looking forward to because we're moving forward with the times. And then another thing we will be doing is looking at succession planning, because we realized what would happen if some key personnel actually got sick during COVID. And although staff are well cross-trained, so operations would continue, we really do need to have a plan in place to outline the procedures that would be followed in such a case. So the past year has been one of many challenges, also many new opportunities. We truly embraced the digital age and got out of our comfort zone and learned to make the library a truly 24/7 and use all the many different technologies that have allowed us to do that. As a quote from the fellow CEO states, we were able to change and adjust to the many needs of our residents and stay connected during this time when connection is so sorely needed. We look forward to seeing all of our residents soon when we can hopefully open in July. And in the meantime, we continue to offer services both virtually and through curbside. And our residents have really embraced this. We actually had a new family just moved to town who was so happy when they're able to call and get a library card, and they're planning on coming and picking up all their books on Saturday, and the children are so happy that they can get new books and of course go visit the bakery for donuts. So the library is truly a community connector, and we are very happy to be here and support our community during the pandemic and beyond. So thank you very much for all of your continued support during this time.
Thank you, Jody. That was a good update. Lots of positive initiatives. So thank you for that update. Can I have a mover and seconder to get this on the floor? Then we'll go to any questions. Councillor Ma and Deputy Mayor Coughlin. Okay, we have that on the floor. So questions, comments, Council? Councillor Ma.
Thank you, Marilyn. Just through to you, Jody. That was fantastic presentation, and I like seeing all the new initiatives you guys worked on. It that's like amazing, absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Councillor Cabral.
Thank you. And once again, thank you, Jody. That was good. I was just curious for the app, library app. Do you know how many users you have that are using it? I'm just kind of trying to gauge with COVID was going on. I would have thought that a lot more people would be inclined to put the app on their phones. And I suspect it's good for both the iOS, Apple, as well as Android, correct?
Jody?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Cabral, I am actually pulling up some of the stats. We had a fairly slow uptake when it first came out, but we've had, let's see, where is it? 698 users in January, 642, 649. So it's been around the 650 users per month for the last few months. When it first came out, I mean, it started really slowly. We had like 50 users a month and then 200 users a month. So it's really we only have our stats up through the end of April at this point. But once we close again for curbside for beginning of 2021, people really started using it a lot more.
Thank you. Thank you. And I would expect too that they'll use it even more once you go to the app checkout. So sounds great.
Yeah, we hope so.
Other questions, Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you, Mayor Allen, and through you to CEO Delgado. Just out of curiosity, when the composition of the library board is being contemplated moving forward with council, is there an opportunity for the board and during your next delegation to council, understanding that it's typically biannually, to incorporate some sort of recommendation to council on board composition? I know that in our last term of council, we did increase the size of of the board by 1 member. But I just wanted to know if there would be an opportunity for you through your board to provide council with some insight. Some of our members have sat on the library board, myself included, but just to have a perception or perspective of the board members to be able to provide council with an opinion so that we can take that into consideration when we're making that decision moving forward.
CEO?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor. As you know, the board's composition is governed by the board bylaws. Currently, they say we have 9 members of the board, which includes a minimum of 1 councillor. So if council does decide to add more council members, we are very welcome. And that also includes the member from Tiny as a contracting library member. They have to put a member on the board. And then when we're looking at board representation, we do look to make sure we have representation from all over the township, depending on who has applied, because they must apply to be on the board. And we're also looking, of course, for different qualities such as financial acuity, strategic planning, membership in different community organizations, diversity, things like that. So using those, we can present a little bit more to council to help us reach a very diverse and very skilled board. Luckily, the board that you appointed for this term has been wonderful. We have a very strong skill set, multiple skill sets, and that has been very, very helpful, especially with the pandemic. And having some members on the healthcare on the board has been really helpful with us during the pandemic. So council did a very good job for this board, I must say.
Good. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you again, CEO Delgado, for the informational presentation. And the motion is that the delegation from Jody Player Delgado on behalf of Springwater Township Public Library, providing an update on the library's response to COVID-19 and event programs, be received. All those in favor? That is carried. Thanks again. Moving on to item 4, question period. Members of the public are able to ask questions of council or make comments regarding items on the agenda. They can do that by submitting them to the clerk's department by email, or by requesting to make an oral question through the clerk's office again. Details of the procedure for doing that are on the agenda. Clerk Ainsworth, have we had any submissions received for this evening?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. There have been no submissions received for this evening's meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5.1, minutes of council. Mover and seconder to get this on the floor, please. Councillor Cabral and Councillor Ma. Any questions or comments with respect to the minutes 1 through 6? Seeing none, the minutes of council listed herein be approved as presented. Special meeting May 12, special meeting closed session May 12, special meeting May 19th, regular meeting May 19th of council, special meeting of council May 19th, and special meeting of council closed session May 19th. All those in favor? That is carried. Item 5.4, minutes of boards, committees, and organizations. Can I have a mover and seconder to get those on the floor? Councillor Cabral. Councillor Moore. Items 1 through 7. Any comments, questions with respect to those? The motion reads that the minutes of council listed herein be approved as presented. The Economic Development Advisory Committee, March 10, 2021. Recreation Advisory Committee, March 23rd, 2021. Planning and Development Advisory Committee, March 24th, 2021. Cultural Advisory Committee, April 6, 2021. Community Broadband Advisory Committee, April 13th, 2021. Springwater Public Library Board, April 20, 2021 meeting, and the Heritage Advisory Committee meeting of April 27, 2021. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to item 6, correspondence information items. There's one item with respect to the Code of Conduct consultation. Can I have a mover and seconder to get that on the floor? It's Councillor Hannah's report. Do you want to move that, Councillor Hannah? Yes, seconded by Councillor Moore. Okay, I'll turn it over to you, Councillor Hannah. You've written a good summary. Any further comments?
Thank you, Mayor. No, it's just that I tried to relate the conversations in point form as best I could. There was some difficulty with the moderator trying to interpret what the moderator was saying at the time. It wasn't quite clear, but there was a lot of people that phoned in, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get through to add the comments that this council wanted to advance. with regard to, especially in my opinion, I shouldn't be expressing my opinion, I guess, if I wasn't supposed to in this, and I didn't, but I believe that there had to be a balance in that it wasn't just the members of councils that need to be controlled possibly, but also there needed to be a higher standard or some control over how integrity commissioners complete their reports and how council should have members of council or investigated or whatever should have an opportunity for appeal as well. So none of that was able to be advanced, and there was none of that mentioned during any of the conversations.
Is there any discussion of next steps, timing?
I'm sorry, repeat that, please.
Was there any discussion about what the next steps are and the timing?
No, just that the province, as the minister stated, and I try to capture it accurately, the minister stated in the original comments that the province was going to basically increase the standards and there'd be changes coming.
Okay. Council, any questions, comments with respect to this? Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you, Mayor Allen, and through you to council and specifically Councillor Hannah. And in the discussion, and thank you for the report. I appreciate you attending on our behalf. Is there something that you would feel that our council can continue to do? I mean, we continue to delegate ministers when the opportunity arises, but I feel like we're sitting and waiting and being reactive. And I think that we have taken a proactive approach where necessary. But if there's anything through that you feel that our council can do to try and implement a provincial standard, anything more at this point?
I appreciate that. I think that's a great point. After I was done listening to the telephone conversation, which was about approximately, I think, 35 minutes, I believe that it would be imperative that members of council, the paper that we put together to be submitted to the province, that maybe each member of council copy that and submit it as well. So our point does get through, and maybe not just to the minister, but to the province.
Councillor Cabral?
There we go. Thank you, Mayor Allen. Just on that, I would suggest I'd certainly be supportive of that. We obviously weren't heard since Councillor Hannah did not get an opportunity to speak. So I think in order to get a balance, I'm wondering if it might be appropriate for us to take the document that we proposed and see about sending that to the minister directly, as well as a copy to Mr. Premier Doug Ford.
Okay, Clerk Ainsworth, any comments with respect to that?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. So I will be submitting the comments. I wanted to wait until this was presented to council tonight. I will be submitting the official comments that were approved by council at the meeting in May. But if council would like a letter to be sent in addition to Minister Dunlop, as well as the Premier, that is something we can amend this motion to provide that direction.
Okay, Councillor Hannah, you're proposing that amendment?
Yeah, well, it's actually Councillor Bell should get credit for it, but I would definitely second it. And I think that's important that it goes forward. And one of the major points we wanted to make was that it should be province-wide code of conduct, not catch up here in different municipalities having their own. I think a province-wide code of conduct is one of the things that we had in our proposal. I think that's very important.
Okay, so we'll have Councillor Cabral move it, and the seconder for the amendment. Deputy Mayor Coughlin, can you read out the proposed amendment to Clerk Ainsworth, please?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. It'll just take me a moment to finalize the drafting.
Excuse me.
Thank you. So the motion would read that the motion now before council be amended as follows. Add, and that in addition to the township, to the official township submission regarding the code of conduct consultation, that a copy of the submission be also sent to Minister Jill Dunlop and Premier Ford.
Okay, all those in favor? That is carried. So do we have to read the main motion or is that part of that? All right, go ahead and do the whole motion, please.
Thank you. That correspondence and information item listed herein be received as information. 1, code of conduct consultation submitted by Councillor Hannah. And that in addition to the official township submission regarding the code of conduct consultation, that a copy of the submission be sent to Minister Jill Dunlop and Premier Ford.
Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 7, action reports. We have 7.2 through 7.6. Can I have a mover and seconder to get this on the floor, please? Councillor Ma and Councillor Moore. Presumably, Councillor Moore, you'd like to pull 7.2. Any questions or desire to pull 7.3 through 7.6? Councillor Ma,
I just have a comment on 7.3.
you have a question on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Question.
Just a second, please. I'm just collecting it. So 1 second, please. Just jotting down the notes here. 7.3, more question. And others, please. Councillor Hannah?
7.1, please.
7.1. There's 7.2 through 7.6.
Sorry, I apologize. 7.2.
Yeah, we pulled that. Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Councillor Cabral?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Just a question with respect to 7.4.
7.4. Okay. So we'll start with Councillor Ma with respect to 7.3. Your question, please.
Thank you,
And
Mayor
that
Allen.
is the single, double, and micro surface treatment tender. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. My question is, when do we expect this to start? Will the company who got the tender, will they have multiple crews or one crew? Will it be done all at once, or will they start each road separately? And when do we think it'll be finished?
All right, Manager Roads and Fleets, Mr. Haw, could you address those, please?
Yes, through you, Mayor Allen, to Councillor Chapman. I guess I'll start with when do we plan on them to start? If it's awarded tonight at the council meeting, I will arrange for a pre-construction meeting. So that's when we'll figure out timing. They tend to run with 2 different crews, one that does surface treatment and one that does micro. All the works are supposed to be completed by the end of July.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 7.4, Councillor Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I just looking at the map here, I just had a question. I actually had to kind of go back out and look at it, but I can see it's on Highway 26 coming out at Willow Creek. I was just wondering where this is for the ministry, but I'm wondering about the Wilson Drive, which is County of Simcoe Road Allowance. Is that where the pipe is coming down? I'm just trying to get a sense of where the pipe's coming from the facility to get to this location of Wilson and 26.
Okay, thank you. I believe we have, yes, we have our development engineer coordinator, Trevor Harvey. First of all, I think this is the first time you've appeared before us. Welcome. Nice to meet you virtually.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Go ahead, please.
So through you to Councillor Cabral, as he mentioned, this is the ministry right-of-way road allowance on Highway 26, which we're seeking this encroachment agreement with. As outlined in the report, there will be, or in a previous report by Director Spagnell, we will be also looking for a similar agreement on the Wilson Drive section, which is a county of Simcoe Road. So the route is from Wilson and Snow Valley Road at the utility campus all the way to Willow Creek. That's what the EA outlined, and that's the proposed route for this effluent pipe.
Follow on?
Yes,
Just out of curiosity, if you might, the railway crossing there, would the pipe be on the, basically, will the pipe have to run under the, I guess it will have to run under the railway at some point along there, will it not?
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Cabral, yes, their proposed routing will be to directionally drill under the railway crossing, and that details is still being worked out with regards to how that construction access will take place.
Perfect, thank you.
okay, so going back to the motion, then it is that the minutes of the council listed herein be approved as presented. Oh, sorry, action reports, that the action reports 7.2 or 7.3 through 7.6 be received, and that the recommendations contained therein be approved as presented. That being 7.3 2021-13 PW single, double, and micro surface treatment tender. 7.4 Midhurst Road Authority encroachment agreement with MTO execution authorization. 7.5 award for facilities assessment study. 7.6 cannabis production facility interim control bylaw extension, with the exception of 7.2 service delivery review next steps, which will be dealt with separately. All those in favor? That is carried. And Councillor Moore, you're moving 7.2 to get that on the floor. Seconder? Councillor Ma. So I think we'll start with this to turn it to Clerk Ainsworth, and then I think she's going to turn it to Councillor Moore to discuss over and above the comprehensive report that was submitted. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Through you to Council. I'll just do a quick overview of the report, and then as the Mayor mentioned, Councillor Moore will provide her input as Chair of the committee. So back on April 19th, Council directed the Efficiency and Service Delivery Audit Ad Hoc Committee, which I'll just refer to as the committee for ease of reference, to forward recommendations 2, 4, and 5 to the committee to propose next steps and drafting of an RFP for final approval by Council. So that is the report you're seeing in front of you today. The committee has proposed 3 separate recommendations regarding 2, 4, and 5, which are listed for you in the report. So we'll start with recommendation, the MNP recommendation listed as number 2, which is the support evidence-based and comprehensive business cases for key council decisions. Now, there is no specific recommendation being provided to council for this item. Data is required for staff to move forward with being able to provide council with these evidence-based and comprehensive business cases. And the committee believes that implementing the suggestions that are included through recommendation 5 will provide the data required to move forward with this information. Now, regarding MNP recommendation number 4, and that was to strengthen the township's technology capabilities. The committee is recommending that a RFP be sought for an information technology master plan. The scope of, or the draft scope, the proposed scope of this RFP is outlined in the report for council's consideration and approval this evening. Now, the RFP is being recommended as these master plans are very technical and detailed in nature, and the township does not have the resources or the expertise to complete this type of detailed project. That's the reason why the committee is recommending that a third-party consultant be engaged to provide the township with a IT master plan. And then recommendation 5, in the motion before you tonight, there are 2 parts to this recommendation. The first part is the creation of activity worksheets, which would collect the data needed to move forward with the remainder of the recommendation. These activity worksheets are currently being undertaken by staff, and they will form the basis to move on with the project. In tandem, the committee is also recommending that an RFP be issued with the scope outlined in the report to hire a third party to provide benchmarking, service standard levels, and KPIs for council's consideration. So with that said, I will pass it to Councillor Moore to provide any further information on behalf of the committee.
Thank you, Clerk Ainsworth. You did a really fabulous overview. There really isn't a whole lot that I can add. Just to reiterate that this is very important work. I can't stress that enough. It's very important that we have the technology master plan completed. So we have the data required, we have security required. Looking to the future, this is going to be how we move the township forward in its technology, hoping that what we have in place already can be utilized to its fullest potential. So I just think it's super important. I think that the second part, the activity worksheets, is going to provide council with the information that we've been looking for all along. The directors will take the worksheets, compile them in a summary form, and provide that to the consultant to then come back to us with the service level standards that we've been looking for and the KPIs. So both parts very important, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the rest of council may have, but I really am hoping that it's supported by council this evening.
Thank you. Councillor Hannah.
Thank you, Mayor. And I do want to thank the committee. I think they've done a good job. My question is just clarification. In item 1 and item 3, is it correct that my assumption here, we're looking at hiring 2 different consultants, one to deal with the technical master plan and one to do with the third-party consultant review?
Yeah, sorry, I see Director Radigan just came on, so she's been very involved with this as well. So I don't know which of the 3 of you want to take that on, but go ahead, please. Clerk Ainsworth.
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Hannah. Yes, you are correct. This report is recommending 2 separate RFPs. That doesn't stop one company from making submissions to both RFPs, but it will be 2 separate processes.
So further up question, if I may, Mayor. So the $50,000, is that for both or just for the the third-party consultant, not the technical review? So is there additional money required in addition to the $50,000, I guess is my question.
I'll direct that to Director Radigan, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Allen, to Councillor Hannah. The report does outline that the $50,000 is requested for recommendation number 5 for the service delivery review for the KPIs and benchmarking, as well as the worksheets. And an additional $40,000 up to $50,000 is being requested through the COVID funding that was received, which currently the balance as at December 31st is approximately $365,000. Thank you.
Councillor Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I just wanted to, on reviewing the report, when it came to the KPIs with respect to the service delivery audit or review, when it comes to the activity reports, obviously I would suspect that activity reports for a particular function or a particular department, they would vary from one to the other in some format or another, given what their responsibilities might be. But in the second paragraph, it says it's important to note that some members of council have expressed concern with this task being completed internally, as they would like to ensure that the collection of data is unbiased. It goes on to talk about the peer review process would be established as part of the project. And then it says staff, supervisors, managers, directors, and departments as a whole would be involved in reviewing the activity worksheets to ensure accuracy of the information. I just wanted to know whether the committee, and from what I'm hearing now too, is that once they collect this data, it's going directly to the consultant. And so I'm wondering if the committee, because this was directed as a result of the last audit not satisfying what council was looking for, and this is actually a project that's council driven. So I'm just wondering whether the committee is going to have an opportunity to have any input to these activity sheets, whether they've seen these activity sheets, or if they're going to be able to, because part of it too was that the committee would be part of the process on an ongoing basis. And I kind of don't see that aspect of that in the report. So I'm just wondering if the committee is going to be hands-on going forward and be able to review the data, review the activity sheets to ensure that it doesn't become a COVID thing like we had with the last one. This one here, we're looking for something that is more in keeping with regular, daily, routine. COVID is a temporary thing, touch wood, but in case moving forward, based on what our normal practices would be normal routine, normal days. So I just kind of get the sense this is all going to the consultants and then it's going to come back to us. I would like to see some involvement of the committee.
Okay, we'll start with Councillor Moore to address that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And through you to Councillor Cabral. During the committee meetings, we did have a chance to review a couple of the different departments' activity logs. They had already been developed, so there wasn't an opportunity for the committee to take part in the development of the activity reports. But there was discussion around when the information was compiled that it does contain identified gaps and identified duplication of service or identified efficiencies. So I think that we all decided and agreed that we would expect that the directors would take the information that they were given and compile it and summarize it and provide that back to council and as well to the consultant. So as I understand it, we're not going to see those reports as completed by individual employees.
Okay, Director Radigan or Clerk Ainsworth, do you want to add anything to that? No. Okay. All right, Deputy Mayor Coughlin.
Thank you, Marilyn. And through you, I think this is just more of a comment. And being part of this committee and being part of committees at the council level on service delivery similar to this, I will say that through Director Radigan and Councillor Moore, I think that this process is novel. It's something I have not been part of to date, and I'm very excited about this. I think that our council creating this committee and being part of the scope of this is going to be something that produces a report that doesn't just sit on a shelf. And I appreciate Councillor Cabral's comments on this committee's input and Director Radigan bringing forward to Councillor Moore the spreadsheet of what information is going to be asked of staff and what information we're looking for to really ensure that what we're getting is not a I'm going to go out on a whim here, and as someone from the public sector, if you're asking an employee to say how busy they are during a day, they're going to be busy. You're going to make sure that you are creating your self-worth in that job, and allowing there to be an opportunity to really highlight the strain that we're placing on other employees at the same time. So while through this, whether it's COVID or not COVID, those individuals who are going to take this as an opportunity to maybe, I'm not going to continue on this conversation. I'm putting myself into that circumstance, but I think that what is put in place is going to give us a really good insight into how the daily operations are in place, but also I think Councillor Cabral's comment about being through COVID, I think that our employees, the employees of the corporation, have really come together and stepped outside and aside from what their actual job description is to ensure that the corporation continues to move forward. So while we as a council have been concerned prior about not intrinsically understanding it, my concern is that through COVID, we've had employees taking on far more than what their job description actually entails. And I want to ensure that what the information we get isn't the strain, the COVID strain isn't being magnified through this, and we get a really good normal day-to-day example of what the corporation is. So I again want to reiterate that I'm very happy to be part of this committee, and it has given me insight to make sure that the committees that I sit on are as productive as this one moving forward. So thank you, Director Radigan and Councillor Moore for taking this in that direction.
Thank you. All right, if there are no more comments or questions, I'll read the motion. Oh, you have a final point, Councillor Cabral?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor Allen. I just, and it's not to echo particular comments. It's a great report. I think we're doing good work. However, it's a little bit difficult not having seen, not necessarily, yeah, it's difficult not having seen what the activity report is asking for, and not knowing if there's going to be a survey of staff so we can find out, you know, is the equipment adequate? Is there problems with equipment that they're utilizing? Could the shifts be better for them given the type of work that they're doing? Around things like their own suggestions that they might be able to provide to us as a corporation to move us forwards, and also workability, where they work, the environment they work in, what types of impacts that has on them, and whether or not they can have any input into things that would make their life better too. So not knowing exactly kind of what's coming down the pipe makes it difficult to know whether we're going to be capturing those things. And I guess I'd have to ask the committee, is that going to be happening? Like, are we going to be getting some, whether it's an anonymous or not, because some folks might not want to say that they're unhappy with a piece of equipment if it was with their name, unless they knew for sure that their comments would be reflective of their work environment, not personal in nature against the organization. So that's kind of, I just want to make sure we're still going to capture that stuff. That's all. Thank you.
Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Through you to Councillor Cabral. We did do a survey, if you'll remember, that the consultant completed, and at that time, employees had an opportunity to voice some of those concerns. But this is separate from that, because with these activity reports, we're strictly looking at developing service level standards. And so I think that if you'd like to look at a survey again for staff satisfaction or those points, we could look at that also, but that's very separate from the information that we would be getting from this. I think if the directors are fine with sharing the activity report outlines that each department have completed, or I don't know, now the clerk is flagging me, so maybe not. But I was going to say we could share the activity report outline, not the detail. Oh, I've got Jeff too, so now I'm in trouble. Thanks, George.
Okay, we'll start with Clerk Ainsworth and then CAO Schmidt.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Through you to Council. As part of the report, Appendix A and B did provide a sample of what an activity worksheet would look like. So Director Radigan came up with, I believe she might have submitted one from her department. It shows the daily tasks, and then there's a project-based tasks. So all of the departments have received that template, and depending on the task might need to adjust it slightly, but that's pretty much what you're going to see as the final submissions, listing every single task, assigning some type of time unit to it, some type of time measurement. So that's exactly what staff are completing right now.
CEO Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just further to Clerk Ainsworth's comments there, and to Councillor Cabral. Again, this is a similar exercise that I undertook or was part of with a neighbor to the south, if you will, back a number of years ago. And really, again, what we're trying to get here, or what we're trying to achieve based on discussions with council, is really trying to get an understanding as to what our staff spending their time on, whether it be on a daily, weekly, quarterly, monthly, annual basis. And so it's really set up to deal with what are those tasks, or processes that individuals are responsible for. And then also, in addition to that, there's obviously projects that happen each year. So, take a look at the projects that they're involved in and understand where staff's time is being committed. To your question about resources and or pieces of equipment, if you will, and utilization of that, we've already reached out to staff. Our managers, Manager Ha and Manager Anderson, have reached out to those specific areas, which is more our outside staff, to ensure, and I'm sure Clerk Ainsworth has reached out to Bylaw as well, to ensure that those individuals have the tools and resources at their disposal in order to perform their job efficiently. So, for example, we are still in the process of deploying tablets out to staff to help them with the implementation of our citywide product, to, again, make it easier for them so that they're not having to write down information and then have to transfer that to an electronic version, if you will. It's really, here it is, here's your tablet, click on the work order and essentially type in the information that you need, and very minimal typing, if you will, but essentially click here and approve it and or complete it. So that's the process that we're trying to implement right now. And again, any additional resources and or pieces of equipment, if you will, that are required, those things will likely have to come through the budget process if we're not able to accommodate within our existing budget. So hopefully that provides a little bit more context with regards to that question.
No, it does. Thank you. I appreciate that, because it provides a lot more context and background specifically to those areas. So I appreciate that.
Deputy Mayor Coughlin, then Councillor Hannah.
Thank you. Mine was more just a quirky comment to Councillor Cabral, that I have a love-hate relationship with his diligence, and that my smirk was not intended to be anything less than that. I appreciate. I too wanted to sit on every single committee and needed to know everything that was going on. And I do appreciate the diligence, but I assure you, this committee is one that I have learned a lot from already, and I'm really looking forward to the outcome of it.
Thank you. Councillor Hannah.
Thank you, Mayor. Could I suggest that once a consultant has been contracted, that maybe before they start their process, that they come before council, or at least the committee, but I would prefer all of council, to set out the steps that they plan on using to accomplish the tasks that they're going to be paid to do. So we're all on board, and we don't miss something that we're going to be asking again for another consultant in the future to come back and do more. I just think it'd be appropriate if we all were on board to start the process.
What are your thoughts on that, Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I think that's a great idea. For expediency, though, because I'm thinking that some of the information we will get, Councillor Hannah will help us at budget time. I would like, maybe, if you're okay with this, to have the committee review the RFP, or if council wants, we can bring it to council, to a council meeting. But either way, I think it's a good idea.
Clerk Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. So once the RFP has closed and submissions are received, the approval authority to appoint the consultant rests with council. The committee does not have that authority. But in regards to the consultant meeting with the committee, the mandate of the committee is to be highly involved in the project throughout. And that would definitely be a first step with the consultant that is retained, to have a meeting with the committee and go over all expectations, processes, and a report can come back to council outlining all of that information. Or it could be forwarded to a meeting, a special meeting of council, if that's the path council wishes to follow.
Well, Councillor Hanna expressed that I think he would like to see them come forward to council at some point in time and in the process. So whenever that makes sense, I think to make sure that the study is covering what the expectations are of council, then it's probably best to work in a method of having the consultant at some point come before council. So why don't we leave that to Councillor Moore and Director Radigan and Clerk Ainsworth to arrange the logistics, but it's a good point. Any other comments before we go to the motion then? Okay, I'll read the motion that the report regarding the service delivery review, next steps, recommendations of the efficiency and service delivery audit ad hoc committee dated June 2nd, 2021 be received, and that a request for proposal be issued seeking a third-party consultant to create a technology master plan outlining the following: a comprehensive technology master plan that reviews and recommends to council how to move forward with the existing technology and use it to its full potential, how it can be integrated, identification of technological gaps in the organization, cybersecurity requirements and preparedness, and provide a detailed plan moving forward outlining short and long-term goals, and that the cost for this project be funded from the COVID-19 relief funds, and further that the scope of the request for proposal presented to council be hereby approved, that staff be directed to complete activity worksheets to collect preliminary data to determine responsibilities, tasks, and projects, one time and ongoing, that a request for proposal be issued seeking a third-party consultant to analyze the activity worksheets, provide industry benchmarks, and to define and recommend service level standards and key performance indicators, and that costs for this project be funded from the $50,000 allocated budget, and further that the scope of the request for proposal presented to council be hereby approved. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Good discussion. All right. Moving on to information items, we're at 8.1. And Deputy Mayor Coghlan, can you go ahead, please?
Thank you, Marilyn. And for you, I'm going to ask that item 8.1.4 be deferred, as I have yet to have, I guess, I don't know if I have a conflict or not at this point, so I'm just waiting for confirmation from an integrity commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Ainsworth, what's the best, I believe, sorry, 1 second, Councillor Cabral had a point about this too, so go ahead, Councillor Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I was just going to say, if Mayor Coghlan's looking for a seconder, I will be it. My concern with the report is different, specifically to that, but it achieves the same goal if there's a deferment. Okay.
So process, Clerk Ainsworth, please, with respect to this and information reports.
Thank you. It would be the same process as pulling an item from action reports. So it would be the motion added with the exception of item 4 to be dealt with separately. So council would vote on information item 1, 2, and 3, and then a second motion would be tabled to receive number 4, and that's when a deferral would be proposed.
So Deputy Mayor Coghlan can be involved in the former, but when we get to 4, that's when her declared conflict of interest applies. Clerk Ainsworth, or?
Thank you. It's
she's
not
asking for a deferral. She's not declaring a conflict of interest as yet.
Correct.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you, Mayor Allen, and through you to council and to staff and to the public. These are one of those unique situations where we as members of council are asked to wear many hats at many different times, and this is a colliding of those hats. And I don't know whether I have an interest pecuniary or not. There's been new information brought forward. There's been information brought forward in that report, and it does impact myself financially with my family, and I don't want to be seen to be directing council or influencing a decision of council. But at the same time, I think that it's pertinent information that applies to the general public of spring water. So I'm torn in that, and I think that if council could provide me with that time to be advised as to whether I can champion this or whether I need to be silent, I would really appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a mover and seconder to get these on the floor, please? Councillor Moore and Councillor Ma.
Sorry, Mayor
Yes,
Allen, I hate to interrupt, but I need to pull one of these too.
Okay, I'm just getting them on the floor. And then my next
Okay.
question, as always,
Sorry.
is we're pulling 4. Are there any others that have questions pertaining or desire to pull? Councillor Cabral. You're muted, Councillor Cabral.
I clicked it again, sorry. I have a question with respect to number 3, and I would like also to, I guess, pull number 1.
Okay. Councillor Hannah.
My question was related to number 1 as well. Thank you.
Okay, so we're pulling that. So your question with respect to 3, Councillor Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. My question with respect to that is with the regard to the extra distance that's required there. There's specific, I think, to the corner lots. My concern would be there with respect to sight triangles at the corner for traffic. And my other question would be too, that if it's goes through the way it's presently worded, would that zoning change not be applicable to the rest of the lots within that development as well? So I just wanted some clarity on that.
Director Spagnell.
Thank you, Mayor Allen, through to Councillor Cabral. The site triangle question will most definitely, site triangles will have to be maintained as per the engineering standards. So any setbacks that are on the property will have to respect that. And the 1.5 meters does apply to corner lots, but the site triangle will have to be respected and provided for. With respect to the overall plans and developments, the proposal is only to provide for these setbacks from lot line for the developments that are listed within the report. So specifically, the mixed subdivision, D Hickling, A&R Hickling, and Rome, this would not be applied to the entire settlement area. It's just specifically to those developments.
And that would be specific to the corner lots too, I would take it then? Thank you.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll deal with 2 and 3 and 1 and 4 being pulled separately. So we have a mover and seconder that the reports item listed herein be received for information. Item 2, Fire Department Activity Report, January through March 2021. Number 3, ZB 2021-008, Midhurst Neighborhood 1 subdivisions, Mix Hickling and R Hickling and Rome, with the exception of items 1 and 4 to be dealt with separately. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, so we're pulling 1 and mover and seconder to get that on the floor. Councillor Moore, Councillor Ma. We'll start with Councillor Cabral with respect to 1.
Thank you, Mayor Allen.
That's the Ethnic Mosaic Alliance.
Right, a bit of deja vu here. I think I've heard about it before. However, I don't have a problem with receiving it as information, but I'm wondering whether or not there's any obligation on our part to enter into an RFP. If there is, I do not support it, and I would ask for an amendment that staff be directed not to pursue engaging in the RFP that's being proposed.
Well, I believe the report made a recommendation that it wouldn't be supported. Clerk, I'll go to Recreation and Special Events Coordinator Brianna Dean to initially respond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, Coordinator Dean's not on the call tonight, so I'll try to answer any questions that council may have. So you're right, Councillor Cabral. This was before council earlier in the year where there was some discussion with EMA regarding a potential partnership, if you will. It's my understanding that through Coordinator Dean and the Cultural Advisory Committee, there was some discussions with EMA earlier this year to try to see whether or not there was any type of or any consideration for a partnership that would not consider a land donation. And it's my understanding that they have made the decision to move forward with the RFP and are only considering land donations at this time. And should they not receive any submissions, I guess, and or any viable submissions, they may be willing to come back to different parties to have further discussions. But it's my understanding at this time they are looking for a land donation, and staff are not recommending that we submit an RFP for a land donation unless council directs us to do so.
So receiving this is in effect not proceeding further with this at this stage. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right.
We will not proceed. Yeah.
Councillor Cabral, is that all right? Yeah. Who else had a question with respect to this? Councillor Ma?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. We did discuss this last night at the Culture Advisory Committee, and we think the idea is great, but what they want, we're not supportive of that. We said maybe down the line, if there was a partnership where we use the same facility, but right now they are truly, we're looking for land donation for their own identity. So we came back and asked if they could provide some kind of report, if they have any fundraising, have they raised any money, and they came back to Coordinator Dean that they weren't in favor of giving us that information. So our hands are tied. If they're not going to give us any information, we can't support something that we don't have enough information. So that's where we stand on that.
Okay. Thank you for that additional information. It's helpful. Councillor Hanna.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think the CAO answered most of my questions. Just one other observation, if he's has the information. It says that the Alliance Committee has entered into a memorandum of understanding with the county. I would like to know if that's what that would entail if they actually have some kind of a memorandum of understanding with the county. What's that about?
CAO Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Hanna. I haven't seen the MOU, Councillor Hanna, but it's my understanding that in order to submit for the funding program that they've submitted for, they had to have some type of partnership with the county and or the municipal level. So I believe that's somewhat part of that MOU. But again, I stand to be correct that I have not seen that MOU. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so we have a mover and seconder for this item to receive as information the Sub 1 Ethnic Mosaic Alliance. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to 8.1 Sub 4, Development Charges Exemption for Ancillary Units. A mover and seconder to get it on the floor, please. Councillor Cabral and Councillor Moore. And at this point, Deputy Mayor Coughlin, can you repeat what your position is on this or what you're doing?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. With not really understanding what I'm doing, I'm going to ask for it to be deferred, please.
Okay, but you're not
Asking
going to
for
be
deferral
involved in
and
the
asking-
vote?
No, I will
Are you
be
gonna
involved in the vote for deferral.
Okay,
And asking for a seconder to move forward with a deferral.
okay. There's a seconder, Councillor Cabral, and then I'll go to Clerk Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I would just need a date for the deferral. Are you looking to have this deferred to the next regular meeting of council?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that's okay with the seconder.
Yes, Mayor Allen, it is. I would ask that it be referred back to staff as part of the process. My reasons are a bit different. Well, let's just have her deferred.
Okay. All right. I think that's probably the best bet. It's convoluted enough that it needs a little more clarification. So can you, that's just that the report in 8.1 sub 4 be referred to staff? Deferred.
Deferred to the next regular meeting of council.
Deferred to the next regular meeting of council. All those in favor? That is carried. Verbal reports, Director Spagnell, official plan update and economic development update, please.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. The only update, it's more of a reminder for council. The county's public meeting for their municipal comprehensive review will take place on Tuesday, June 8th at 10 a.m. That will be a virtual meeting. Spring water comments have been sent off to the county and will form part of that public record. Those comments were sent out today, and that will initiate the dialogue with county staff and the consultants they have working on that process. That concludes my presentation.
Director Spagnell, can we get copies of what was sent to the county, please? Or is that basically what was in the report that we reviewed within the last week?
Mayor Allen, staff can definitely provide council with a copy of what was sent. It is really, it consists of the comments that were provided in the report. It provides the resolution passed by council with a little bit of explanation about the reports, in that the reports need to be updated and will be updated because they are in draft form. Staff can send those off to council for their records.
Thank you. I'd appreciate receiving that tomorrow, as I need to refer to it in another meeting I have tomorrow. Thank you. Any questions with respect to the official plan update or economic development updates? Okay, moving forward, CAO Schmidt to the Midhurst development update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, a couple of things for this matter. So the utility campus or the treatment lands, so staff are in a position to issue the building permit for the wastewater treatment plant and the water treatment plant. We're just waiting for final execution of the external works agreement, which hopefully we'll have shortly. And we've also been advised that the contractor for the water treatment plant is actually looking to get going with construction concrete work the week of June 14th. So we are looking to see some progress on the external land shortly, construction-wise, plant-wise. As it relates to the internal servicing of the mixed subdivision, that continues, and the commencement of road building is underway. And it is anticipated that all internal servicing for the subdivision will be completed by July 1st. And just lastly, the sales office, it is well underway. So anybody that's driven by the site will see that it is there. And it is anticipated that the sales office will be open to the public possibly late August, early September of this year. And that concludes my update for Midhurst. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, council? Okay, moving on to county updates. Deputy Mayor Coughlin.
Thank you, Mayor Allen, and through you, I think that the applicable portions of the county meeting were good news stories of such. There is a affordable housing development project in BWG, Bradford West Gwillimbury, $28.4 million project. And also that the redevelopment of the Simcoe Manor was approved for an additional 34 beds. So some good news stories. But aside from that, that would be it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Moving on to municipal updates. Does anyone have any municipal updates? Councillor Hannah?
Yeah.
Thank you. It's really an update. If you allow me to advance a question to the CAO, it's to do with the spraying of gypsy moths number of residents have asked the Springwater Township to put that in the budget for next year. I understand, I might be wrong, that it's not something the township could in fact do. It would have to be a county adventure if it was to take place, but maybe the CEO could help with that.
CEO Schmidt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Councillor Hannah. So as you're aware, or most councillors are aware, yes, this has been somewhat of a hot topic of late, and we have had communications with our partners at the County of Simcoe, who are, I would say, a little more well-versed in this matter. And it's to my understanding that a report did go to County Council in November of 2020, speaking about the Gypsy Moth program, or not program, about the Gypsy Moths, as well as there is information on the County of Simcoe's website for residents and landowners to utilize at their disposal. But it's my understanding that based on discussions with the county in Ontario, this is a private landowner responsibility. And at this stage, the county nor the Township of Springwater is looking to provide for any type of spray program unless of course directed to do so and investigate. In my previous life in another municipality further south, we didn't do the Gypsy Moth spray program. We did do a West Nile program, which at that time, we're talking probably 10 plus years ago, was in the magnitude of around $30,000. Again, there's a large fee for the actual airplane to fly over, if you will. So, if directed by council, it's something we could take a look at and have a discussion with the county. But at this stage, there are no plans at our level and or the county to do anything further at this stage. Just educate and inform.
Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you, Marilyn, and thank you, Councillor Hannah, for bringing that forward. In speaking with residents to that, I mean, if we were to continue forward as a council to look into such an option, there would be snow on the ground before we got approvals to do such. They would be moths at that point. So I think that if we are looking to make an impact for our residents, the SSEA, the Severn Sound Environmental Association, does have some excellent information for residents. But aside from that, I think that relying on our partners and just continuing to communicate, and I think that the social media information that's being put forward is relevant. But as far as providing relief, I agree with CEO Schmidt's interpretation that we can provide information, but as far as providing relief for these insects, I don't think that's something that we can advance at this time that would provide an actual solution to today's problem.
Okay, thank you. Swinging back to COVID update, CEO Schmidt, can you touch on that, please? Oh, Councillor Cabral's waving a card. Is that about the moths, Councillor Cabral?
No, I could comment on them, but I'm not going to. No, I just wanted to point out that the Springwater Farmers Market Elmvale is going to be opening up on June, I believe, the 19th. And they're open from 9 to 2. So we're going to be hopefully stage one or open, and hopefully folks will be getting an opportunity to get out there and patronize the market. It's good food and good crafts.
And the vendors are the same vendors as last year, more or less? You're muted.
I would suspect the majority will be past ones that will be there, but I know that they're still seeking new vendors that might want to participate this year.
Mm-hmm. CEO Schmidt can't wait for the butter tarts. Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you, Marilyn. And further to that, through you to Councillor Cabral, the Tiny Art Shack in Elmvale has currently, and this is not a gypsy moth, it happens to look like a butterfly, but they have a butterfly, which is an interactive mural on their private property, on the business's property, which is similar to what was proposed by the economic development. So when the farmers market does open, and this is across the road from it, I would love to see a picture of Councillor Cabral in front of this butterfly with the wings from the back of him. So I think that it might be a great initiative and an understanding for council as to what our Economic Development Committee is proposing to move forward with in conjunction with not with our farmers market, but as an aside to that.
I'll speak to my publicist about that.
I'll leave that up to you, Deputy Mayor, to organize. That's good. CEO Schmidt, COVID-19 updates, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as most of you are likely aware, the provincial stay-at-home order and the provincial declaration of emergency have been lifted or expired as of today. However, until we move to step one of the province's reopen, a roadmap to reopen, which is slated for the week of June 14th, we must all continue to follow the rules and public health measures under the provincial-wide emergency break. So what does this mean for you? Outdoor gathering limits are permitted up to 5 people. Indoor organized public events and social gatherings are not permitted, except with members of your own household and or one other person from outside of the household who lives alone. Travel from Manitoba or Quebec into Ontario continues to be restricted. As mentioned earlier today, schools are to remain closed for in-person learning for the remainder of this school year. And again, that was confirmed by the Premier this afternoon. Grocery stores, convenience stores, and pharmacies are permitted to open for in-person shopping with maximum capacity limits of 25%, which I believe is currently what they're permitted to do. And I think further to that, Councillor Cabral, just from a farmer's market perspective, I believe they're also under that limited 25% capacity right now. So technically they could open, but with limited capacity. Non-essential retailers may open for curbside pickup and delivery only and by appointment, again, similar to what's being offered right now. And restaurants and bars remain open for takeout, drive-through, and delivery. And again, no indoor or outdoor dining is permitted at this time. So again, similar to what we've been going through for the past couple of months here. So from a township perspective, all township facilities do currently remain closed to the public, and staff are available to provide assistance by phone and email. That being said, staff anticipates on moving back to our modified staffing schedule, so teams A and B, which would be effective Monday, June 7th. And we're also anticipating on opening the doors to the Township Administration Center to the public on Monday, June 7th. Furthermore, the township's public libraries do continue to operate under the same existing format, so providing curbside pickup. And then from a vaccine perspective, so approximately just almost 360,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine have been administered in Simcoe Muskoka, which is approximately, of which approximately 326,000 and change have received their first dose, which represents about 54% of our total population. In addition, just over 39,000 have received both doses, which again represents about 6.5% of our population. And as of yesterday, Springwater has had 275 confirmed cases of COVID, which is an increase of approximately 14 cases since my last update on May 19th. 261 of those have recovered. None, from my understanding, are hospitalized, and 2, again, have previously passed. And again, that concludes my update. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Councillor Cabral?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Through you to CEO Schmidt. Actually, it's not a question. I just wanted to thank you. The email you sent, roadmap to reopen at a glance, it was fulsome. It was very, very good for me. I get a lot of folks who, in passing or whatever, even on the phone when they're talking, ask about this. And that particular document that you sent out, it's great because it covers just about everything anybody could ask about. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 10.1 is a notice of motion moved by Councillor Cabral and seconded by Councillor Hanna. Councillor Cabral, floor is yours.
There we go. Thank you, Mayor Allen. I'm actually going to ask Clerk Ainsworth whether or not Mr. Belcourt is with us in the event that council members do have questions.
Clerk Ainsworth?
Yes, he is on the line, and I can provide him authority to speak through the Zoom platform should council require any information from him.
Perfect, thank you. I just didn't want to, I'd cover more if Mr. Belcourt wasn't available to entertain questions, but if he is and council has a question, it's probably better if they get a proper response with some credibility behind it. Anyhow, this came about when a Lions Club member, and I have to first say that they do wonderful work. They're always contributing to the community to make it better for everybody, and basically approached and suggested that they would very much like to provide some benches. In particular, one park location within Elmvale, but certainly open to other park locations for the other two. In addition to that, they did also make an inquiry with respect to the possibility of installing and paying to install and put in place a memorial tree. I think that most of us would be familiar with the name Stan McNutt. He's been basically an institution in Elmvale. And they want to put a memorial tree in Heritage Park in order to recognize his contributions, both for community involvement as well as service, as the motion reads. So in the Air Force, he was basically the go-to police officer in Elmvale until the detachment closed. I don't think there was anybody in Elmvale that didn't know Stan McNutt. He was approachable. Even the youth in that used to be able to reach out to him, and he could handle things in a very, very good manner, quite often without involving further action down the road. So, and he was also a member of the Presbyterian Church, longtime member there, and a large part of his time was spent as a member of the Lions Club, a longtime member with them, and it's the Lions Club that now wants to turn around and recognize his service in the past through the memorial tree. So that's what the motion is all about. And if council has any questions, I'm sure that Mr. Belcourt's more than happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions, council? I think it's pretty straightforward and much appreciated. Deputy Mayor Coughlin.
Thank you, Marilyn. No, that was simply my comment. Thank you to Councillor Cabral and to Brian for bringing this forward. I think this is something that I'm excited to support. That was it.
Okay, so we have a mover and seconder. Whereas council recognizes the importance of community service clubs such as the Elmvale and District Lions Club, and whereas council acknowledges and appreciates the Elmvale and District Lions Club for their continued contributions and efforts to partner with Township of Springwater for collective benefit of our community, be it therefore resolved that council hereby acknowledges and approves a donation by the Elmvale and District Lions Club of 3 metal park benches as depicted in Appendix A to be installed within the Township of Springwater's parks at locations agreeable to both staff and the Elmvale and District Lions Club. And further, that council also consider and approve the request by the Elmvale and District Lions Club for permission to supply and plant a memorial tree with a plaque at Heritage Park in Elmvale at a location agreeable to both staff and the Lions Club. That the memorial tree and plaque serve to recognize and honor longtime Elmvale resident Mr. Stan McNutt for his proud service as a member of the Canadian Air Force, long service as an Ontario provincial police officer, posted to the Elmvale detachment until its closure, and his volunteerism to the community through many Elmvale organizations, including the Presbyterian Church, as well as being a long-serving Lions member. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 11, items for future consideration. Any items, council? Moving on to the bylaws. Can I have a mover and seconder for the bylaws, please? Councillor Cabral, Councillor Moore. That the bylaws listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk, 2021-58 heritage designation, Anton Mills Community Center, 2021-61 encroachment agreement, Ministry of Transport, 2021-62 easement agreement, Vesper Valley, 5000-335 zoning bylaw amendment ZB 2021-003, re White Owl Properties Limited and Cassell Drive, and 2021-67 interim control bylaw extension, cannabis cultivation and production. All those in favor? It's carried. Confirmatory bylaw mover and seconder, please. Councillor Cabral, Councillor Ma, that the bylaw 2021-064 to confirm and adopt the proceedings of council at the regular meeting held on June 2nd, 2021 listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? And it's carried. An adjournment motion, please. Deputy Mayor Coughlin, Councillor Ma, that the regular meeting of the Township of Springwater does now adjourn at 8:04 p.m. to meet again at a regular meeting June 16th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Good efficient meeting. Good night.